मेडल इति प्रतिष्ठापूर्ण वैश्विक बहुमानेन समलङ्कृतः गणितविशारदः प्रोफेसर मंजुल भार्गवः सद्यकाले अमेरिकादेशे प्रिन्स्टन् विश्वविद्यालये गणितविभागे प्राध्यापकरूपेण नियोगरतः। बाल्यादेव गणिते प्रगाढरुचिमादधानेन अमुना संस्कृतम् उपयुज्य 200 वर्षप्राचीना अङ्कसिद्धान्तप्रणाली सरलीकृता अस्ति। ज्यामित्याम् अभिनवप्रणालीम् अनुसन्धातुं प्रोफेसर मंजुल भार्गवः प्रतिष्ठाम् आवहति। संस्कृतगणितयोः अन्योन्यसम्बन्धस्य व्याख्यापकेन अमुना सह अचिरमेव मैसूरुनगरे भारतीयविज्ञानपरिषदि सहभागप्रसङ्गे अस्मदीयवार्ताहरेण निखिलसिंहेन सम्भाषितम्। संस्कृतं तु अतिप्रियभाषा। संस्कृतगतानां विशिष्टगणितीयसूत्राणां च अध्यापनम् अधिकृत्य कथं प्रेरणा अधिगता इति विषये प्रोफेसर भार्गवः प्रावोचत्।
Actually, so one of my greatest inspirations when I was growing up was my grandfather, who was a Sanskrit scholar. And so a lot of what I learned about mathematics growing up as a child was through what he taught me about the rhythms of Sanskrit poetry and about the frequencies that are used in music. There's a lot of mathematics there. The Sangeet Ratnakar is a great musical work on which Indian music is based, but it also has a tremendous amount of amazing mathematics in it, describing how to improvise and rhythmically, how to choose frequencies nicely so that they sound good to the ear. And this is all mathematics. And so I got very inspired by these mathematical ideas in music and in ancient Sanskrit works. And that was a big influence on me when I was growing up from my grandfather.
विशुद्ध गणितज्ञः सन् भारते गणितस्य इतिहास विकास विषये विज्ञापयता प्रोफेसर भार्गवेण प्रतिपादितम्।
India has a very rich mathematical history going back to ancient times as well as in modern times. In ancient times, a lot of algebra was developed here, a lot of combinatorics was developed here, a lot of geometry was developed here in India, going back to ancient times. We often don't learn about that in school because historians of mathematics haven't really brought it out in India as much as they have in the West. We learn more about Indian mathematics in the West than we do in India sometimes. And I think it'd be nice to bring that out. It's nice to know what the true history is, and it's also nice for young people to get inspired by things that happened on this soil. But also in modern times, India has made great contributions to mathematics. And Ramanujan is actually one of the greatest heroes for me.
प्रिन्स्टन् विश्वविद्यालये गणितीय सूत्राणाम् अध्यापन प्रणालीं विशदीकुर्वता तेन सूचितम्।
One of my favorite sutras from ancient Sanskrit is a word called Yamata Rajabhana Salagam. It's the first example in history of what's called a De Broglie sequence, and it was used in ancient India to preserve rhythmic compositions for posterities. So they used this word to make an error-correcting code. And so it's the first example in history of an error-correcting code. And so I use this example in my class to illustrate what an error-correcting code is, and also give it as the first example in history where it was used. And it's a very beautiful one because it originates in poetry. It takes a long time. Obviously, I didn't explain it in great detail here. It takes an hour or two to explain that whole process of how they use this sutra, this short sutra. There's a rhythm called Shardula Vikriditam, which is a 19-syllable meter. The composer wanted to make sure that this is preserved forever. So what he did is he wrote a poem about this meter, in the meter, because it's very easy when you pass down a meter from generation to generation, a rhythm, somebody might change the rhythm a little bit. These ancient poets didn't want anything changed. So they made a poem about the meter, in the meter, with a description of the meter. I can tell you the poem. It goes, Suryashvai adima sajo satatgah shardula vikriditam. And that translates into, if there are 12 plus 7 syllables in the form ma saja satataga, which is the rhythm, that's a code for the rhythm, then it's called the play of the tiger. Another one of my favorites that I always like to lecture about is the gait of the cobra. Bhujanga prayatam chaturbhir yakarei. That's a shorter one. And many poems have been written in that meter as well. And that meter also, for the same reason, has been preserved for thousands of years because of this mathematical error correcting code that's embedded in it.